Edition!
Hey YouTube, Dogposition84 here, and I'm doing something that I've thought about doing for a little while, and that was explain my movie series timeline. Now, it's pretty simple to start off with, and then it gets a bit mixed up afterwards, I must admit, due to the development hell that is making this bigger movie. So, we'll start things off nice and simple. The first three are easy to explain. So, the very first one I did for Halloween 2021, that takes place in Halloween 2021. The first movie I ever created, and it was quite a step up with the kinds of videos I do. It just felt like something fun, random. It was a spur of the moment thing I wanted to do after I had some fun with some editing, after playing some Halloween themed games with Earthbound Immortals, vampires, evil heroes, Exodia Summons Skull, and what was the other one? Hands of Danger. Starting with this little video clip.
Okay. Which one is it?
What about Coca People? I haven't drawn it. It's a poo. No, no, no. What does it do?
If it's destroyed except by science bounds,
I've still got a few minutes. Why are you going for me?
I'm going to go for it because you have to
It is time. What to do? We discard a dust.
I'm going to normal rolling lock rate. Okay. What's he going to do? What's he going to do?
No.
It's going to make the vicious
Damn. Okay.
Apparently there's an immortal who doesn't have the letter U in his name. The letter U in his name.
As I said, that takes place in Halloween 2021. Then the second one, the time travel adventure, that's easy as well. That takes place round about May the 5th, 2022. The same date as the 15th anniversary of my channel, or at least when I first started doing YouTube content. Now, here's where things start to get a little bit mixed up. You see, after the time travel movie, Dragon Master 25 wanted to get involved in a follow-up to it, and so did Weber's 5, and then Emma did. Not necessarily a Yu-Gi-Oh movie, but she just wanted to be in a movie that I make. So I thought combine these ideas together to fit their needs, basically. Now, obviously, at the end of the time travel movie, you can see that it's implied that the cyborg and the demon will basically work together. Well, I'm not trying not to give away any spoilers for this bigger movie, but yeah, let's just say that Dragon Master wanted to bring in a character that he plays, which has some sort of connection to the cyborg. What character he'll play, I can't say at this time. Now, for the whole storyline, the whole idea behind the whole thing, we've got it all on lockdown, so we know what the story is, we know what we want to have happen, but obviously it's still nowhere near finished. I mean, scripting for the last duel is still in progress, and there's still scenes that we haven't filmed yet. There are lots of other scenes we've filmed. I mean, the first lot of scenes, we've filmed those, put those together, and so far, that's 47 minutes worth. But obviously we don't know how long the whole thing is going to be. Could be 2 hours, could be 2.5 hours. I don't know. Yeah, it's a tricky one. But yeah, there's lots of time constraints, along with the fact that I moved away like 2 years after we first started working on it. But yeah, there is also the question of where it fits in the timeline, along with the fact that other movies have happened which are meant to take place before that, which brings me to the third one, the second Halloween one, with the first appearance of Dr. Longnose.
It's Long Nose.
Oh, shut up. So, yeah, obviously that's meant to take place before the big movie. And then so is the one after that, which was my 300 subscriber special, Darkquisition versus the Last Duel Bot. And that one is supposed to take place before the big movie happens, hence why in the title I put in the brackets The Calm Before the Storm, which is meant to imply that that big movie is supposed to happen next. And that's why I've been hesitant to throw in any more movies involving my movie series character, and yet there's about 3 or 4 others involving that, which I'll get to in a moment. And I just feel like if I made any more after that, after saying The Calm Before the Storm, then it just feels like that would have been a lie and something misleading, and I don't want to do that, obviously. And then what was the one after that? It wasn't quite the Christmas Chaos tournament, it was the 4th anniversary movie for Team Sorcerers, which came next. Now, obviously, the 4th anniversary for Team Sorcerers happened in November 2023. Now, what I haven't decided on, or what hasn't been decided on, is whether or not the 2 movies done on Team Sorcerers is either taking place on the same timeline as my movie series, or whether it's happening on an alternate timeline in an alternate universe. That one I haven't figured out yet. And speaking of the 5th anniversary movie, that was the Team Sorcerers special, whereas the 4th one was the Reaper Unleashed. But the Team Sorcerers special, again, the 5th year anniversary, that happens in November 2024, although my movie character does mention about the Sinister One, as if I'm still doing the investigation to find out who the Sinister One is. But obviously the whole thing ends up being a dream. It hints at the possibility that it's on the same timeline as my movie series, but again, that's something I haven't worked out. So, in regards to whether or not it's in an alternate timeline or alternate universe, or on the same timeline as my movie series, I'm going to leave that up to you guys to figure out which of the 2 it is. Of course, until either me or Dragon Master say otherwise. But yeah, then there's the the Christmas Chaos tournament starring Evie Bot, where I guess I kind of unintentionally made her a villain after that video I did on Team Sorcerers, where I'm just doing what other YouTubers have done and just have a conversation with her, and, well, in my case, challenge her to a duel, and she mentioned about world domination, which I guess made her become a villain, hence why the Christmas Chaos tournament storyline happened, and why in the latest movie I did, she teamed up with Dr. Longnose. So, yeah, I thought that would be funny to do. And the Christmas Chaos tournament, I feel that, obviously, round about Christmas in 2023, and then, of course, there's my spin-off series, Dawn of the Cyber Heroes, which I made because I was just holding off on trying to make any other movies involving my movie character. Because I wanted the next movie with my character to, well, beat the big one that the 4 of us are working on. But because that's been in development hell, and I wanted to carry on making movies, I wanted to basically have something to keep people interested. So I made the start of a series called, Yu-Gi-Oh! Cyber Heroes, with the first one being Dawn of the Cyber Heroes, which Gungner got involved with as well. And then, of course, there's the end of that episode where the demon breaks into the science facility and causes problems. And then that scene pops up again in the other movie I made for my 500 subscriber special, Rampage of the Earthbounds. Now, again, this is where things can get a bit tricky, so try and follow me if you can on this one. So, so the end of that, the end of Dawn of the Cyber Heroes is also the very start of Rampage of the Immortals, Rampage of the Earthbound, sorry. So yeah, that's happening at the same time. And then, as for the events of that movie and the end of it, that is basically taking place both before and during the events of the big movie. Again, that the four of us are working on, and that last clip at the end where I'm running, that's actually a small scene from that big movie, so a little bit of a teaser there. So now you're probably wondering what I'm running towards or running from. Obviously when it comes out you'll find out, obviously. But then I'll have to circle back a bit to where these fit into the timeline. So yeah, like I said, the third one, the Trial of the Octopolypse, like I said, that happens on Halloween 2022. And then, of course, the next one after that, against the Last Duel bot, that happens, obviously, after that movie. And then we finally get to the point when the big movie is supposed to take place, and it is supposed to take place basically either towards the end of 2022 or early 2023. So either just before Christmas 2022 or afterwards, which would make sense considering we started working on it in 2022. Of course, one tiny issue with that is that in a couple of early scenes in the big movie, I'm wearing a t-shirt because one of the scenes was filmed in August 2022, and yeah, it wouldn't make much sense to wear it in just only have a t-shirt on top, like in November, December or January, unless of course for some reason it was a warm day. And to be fair, there have been occasional warm days, like in the autumn and winter time. So, I think that can be excused. Yeah, in any case, the big movie is meant to happen in like very late 2022 or quite early on in 2023. So yes, this would also mean that the character of Rick, the AI counterpart to my movie character, was created like in November time 2022. So yeah, that would mean that there are these Team Sorcerer's anniversary specials and the Christmas Chaos tournament do happen sometime after the events of the big movie. So I guess it does give away that regardless of what happens in that big movie, my movie character seems to turn out okay. But again, I'm still trying really hard not to give anything away about what happens. So now we have to basically go back to Cyber Heroes. So this does bring about the question of the Fire and Fiend episodes and the 2 episodes that happen afterwards, Clowning Around and Skull Issue. When do they take place? I'm not gonna lie, I didn't think too much about that. Because here's the thing, with the Fire and Fiend saga, it involves decks that were basically in the meta last year, but like Fiendsmiths, Fire Kings, Snake Eyes, Unchained, things like that. And of course, Fiendsmiths came about in 2024. But if the events of Dawn of the Cyber Heroes take place in 2022, that basically suggests that there's a gap, in 2023. It would make us wonder, well, what's going on during that period of time? At the moment, I guess the only explanation I can think of is that because the demon attacked the science facility, which basically handles things in the virtual world, either the virtual world got shut down, or the virtual world got cut off from the real world, and as a result, nothing's happened. That's something I didn't really think about. And then of course with the 2 episodes after that, Clowning Around and Skull Issue, there is some sort of workaround, because in those episodes there's no mention of the events of the Fire and Fiend shitstorm that happened, basically. So what I may have to say here is that the events of Skull Issue and Clowning Around happen before the Fire and Fiend stuff that happens. And then any Cyber Heroes episodes that I do after that one would have to happen between Skull Issue and the start of the Fire and Fiend War. If I was doing it in seasons, like Season 1, Season 2 or whatever, then the start of the Fire and Fiend War could possibly be something that starts up in the Season 1 finale, and then at the start of Season 2, that the whole Fire and Fiend thing would have ended. I feel like that would make some sense, again, because like I said, there's no mention of those events happening in Clowning Around and Skull Issue. But then, of course, in Skull issue, a big tournament is mentioned by the Skull. I haven't given him a name yet, but I've got some ideas. And then, of course, there's my last movie, Whatever Happened to Dr. Longnose. Well, I said at the start that it takes place after a showdown with the villain known as the Sinister One. So, yeah, it still happens, like, sometime after the events of the big movie, and it's... So, I guess that does imply that the Sinister One will be revealed and is in that movie. I don't know if that was a spoiler or not. So yeah, obviously, because my channel's 18th anniversary is mentioned in Whatever Happened to Dr. Longnose, that of course happens like in the present, or at least it will be the present at the time of recording, so May 2025, and the big tournament still hasn't happened yet, so I guess in a way, like during 2023, this so-called big tournament was still being planned. But then, of course, I guess that would cause a bit of a consistency issue, because in early 2024 was when I created my own format, Retition format, and I said at the start of the 8th episode, Clowning Around, duels in the Cyber Heroes series happen under my format. Meanwhile, the Fire and Fiend stuff does involve Retition format decks as well. But there could be a workaround to this, because I had an idea for a prototype of this, like near the end of 2023, so which means technically I would have first thought of it in 2023. Even though it doesn't match the timeline in real life, the idea of Retition format could still happen 1 year earlier in my movie series timeline. But yeah, going back to whatever happened to Dr. Longnose, I feel like the Fire and Fiend stuff would have basically delayed preparing for this big tournament, and then once that was over and done with, then yeah, it could actually happen, and of course in the intro of the Fire and Fiend stuff, it mentions that I'm out of the competitive scene, which does technically match up, as well. Again, I've not been playing in tournaments, or at least not current format tournaments, since the autumn of 2023. And I've just not wanted to get involved in the competitive side of Yu-Gi-Oh! Since then. If these the Fire and Fiend events are still happening in 2024, it would bring about the question, where is my movie character during all of this? I mean, we know what's happening with Rick. He's, trying to save everyone. But again, I guess there's no explanation on where my movie character is. Because, with a huge disaster like that, you would think it would be all over the news or some kind of social media, and anyone would know about it. So it's hard to say what happens exactly. I mean, maybe I can do a movie where I could come back to this at some point. Because I must admit that was something I didn't completely think about. I guess I originally did think about tying this in with the events of the big movie, but again, because certain archetypes and decks came about, like, way after late 2022, it wouldn't make sense and wouldn't match up with the real life timeline. So I guess I could come back to it, but I feel like it would be a similar situation to events that happen in Yu-Gi-Oh! GX. Like with the Season 4 storyline, when Truman and Night Shroud are making people disappear and Yugi isn't around, and that makes you think, well, where's Yugi when all of this is going on? So I guess in a way this kind of mirrors that. But yeah, it's not like my movie character wouldn't care. I mean, my movie character would want to jump in and help out. It's not something he would just completely ignore. So, again, maybe I can come back to these events at a later date. Of course, to be honest, movie-wise, I'd just rather continue working on the big movie. As for Cyber Heroes, don't worry, it hasn't been cancelled. Like I said, I know I haven't done one since, September or August last year, but obviously it's because I've been too busy with other things. Obviously I've got ideas for future episodes, I just haven't got around to doing them yet. Other than that, I think I've basically covered my movie series timeline. I'll try and recap it as best I can. So, in terms of the order, so it's Dark Magician versus the 6 decks of the Octopolypse, the Time Travel Adventure, the Trial of the Octopolypse, Dark Magician versus the Last Duel Bot, and then after that would be Dawn of the Cyber Heroes, Rampage of the Earthbounds, the big movie that's happening, which of course will have the biggest cast number yet, even though it's just 4 people. Because before the most was just 2. one with me and Dragon Master, the other with me and Gunner. So yeah, events of the big movie, that's next. Then it is Clowning Around, Skull Issue, and then a whole bunch of other Cyber Heroes episodes. Then, provided it's still on my movie timeline, The Reaper Unleashed, that's the Team Sorcerer's 4th anniversary movie. Then after that, it's the Christmas Chaos Tournament with Evie Bot. And then after that, it's the 6 Fire and Fiend episodes. And then, like, a long time after that, it's the Team Sorcerer special, the Team Sorcerer's 5th anniversary movie. And then, obviously, last in the timeline at the moment is Whatever Happened to Dr. Longnose. That is the order of events that will happen. And now that I've said it, I'm just going to stick with it. But like I said, as for the anniversary movies that happen on Team Sorcerers, again, I'll leave that up to you to decide whether or not it's on my movie timeline or whether or not it's on a separate timeline or alternate universe. And that's going to cover it. And before I wrap up the video, I'm also going to cover a few things that have been questioned or assumed about. In Rampage of the Earthbounds, it was assumed that it was happening in the virtual world because there's a cat, Tally, the Squishmallow, and the bear, Beanie Baby, Secret. I mean, I can see why that would be assumed. Because in the virtual world, people do have their own avatars, just like how it sort of works in Link Raids. But no, Rampage of the Earthbounds doesn't actually happen in the virtual world. It happens in the real world. Which I thought it would be a thing just to have, what's the word I'm looking for? Animorphic characters, just like in cartoons and stuff, where animals are just walking and talking. So this is basically a similar thing, just to make it so that there's more characters, basically. So yeah, I just thought I'd explain that. And then something came up about Card of Sanctity. Now, it was questioned about whether or not it would be able to be activated if at least one player already has 6 cards in hand. But the thing is, this never came up in the Yu-Gi-Oh! Anime. I mean, if I can just find the wording for Card of Sanctity, because obviously I go with the anime version of it in my movie series, and it just simply states each player draws until they have 6 cards in their hands. But obviously there's no official rulings regarding the anime version. But yeah, so I don't know what the ruling would be here, but I just assumed that simply if one of the players already has 6 cards in hand, they just simply don't draw, and whoever has less than 6 just draws. And of course this scenario came up in the last Duel bot, Dark Magician versus the Last Duel bot, the clowning around episode. I can't remember if it came up in the Team Sorcerer's 5th anniversary episode, and of course it did come up an excessive amount of times in Whatever Happened to Dr. Longnaws. But yeah, if there is a ruling where it said it can't be activated if one of the players has 6, then yeah, I feel like I may have screwed up here, but I would just simply have to write it off and specify that that ruling doesn't exist in my movie universe. It's just for the sake of the plot. And yeah, I know it wasn't used an excessive amount of times in Whatever Happened to Dr. Longnaws, but the thing was, though, I basically had to do it that way just to make that certain character do all the plays that I wanted to have happen to reach the end result that I want to have happen. Yeah, it is tedious, I know. I think it's tedious as well, but it's one of those things that just has to be done. Although I only seem to ever do it whenever a character is using a mixture of different archetypes. Well, except when the demon used it in Rampage of the Earthbound. So yeah, that was that basically. Oh, and as for the big tournament that was mentioned, I mean, it was assumed that it would be the Fire and Fiend tournaments that happened, but no, that is not the case. They are separate things. Because yeah, the Fire and Fiend stuff was 6 tournaments, whereas the big tournament that's mentioned is only one big event. So yeah, these are just a few things I wanted to clear up before wrapping up the video. But yeah, that concludes it. Hope you guys enjoyed. And yeah, thanks for watching, stay safe, and I'll see you later. Bye. Thank you very much for watching. Be sure to subscribe to the Dark Magician YouTube channel.